After a wild night with the wealthy young heir, I didn't think much of it. After all, he was infamous for being a playboy. Coincidentally, the guy I recently had my eye on turned out to be his cousin. I asked him for a small favor, to introduce me to his cousin. He teased, "So, do I have to wear the green hat myself?" Meaning being cheated on. It was just a drunken mistake anyway, so I figured I had gotten the better end of the deal. That's why whenever I ran into Ryan Hayes at parties or gatherings, I would still smile and greet him casually. But I always left quickly, afraid lingering too long would make him think I wanted to cling to him. Honestly, I was being considerate. "Ryan Hayes, you don't owe me any thanks." Word had it lately that Ryan had toned down his reckless lifestyle. He no longer showed up at his usual spots, and no one could coax him out anymore. Some people said he had a girlfriend. He never denied it, but he also never revealed who she was. Friends asked me, "Do you know who Ryan's dating?" I had heard it was someone we all knew, but I simply shook my head. Ryan and I weren't close. How could I possibly know who his girlfriend was? My friend grew frustrated, insisting, whoever could make Ryan Hayes give up his wild ways must be someone truly extraordinary. I nodded along, yes, truly extraordinary. That evening, the Hayes family hosted a party to welcome Ethan Hayes, Ryan's cousin, who had just returned from overseas. At first, I didn't want to go, but the invitation came with a gift. Inside was a stunning black silk dress. The Hayes family had grown more extravagant these days. Every invitation included a prepared gift, even the dress sizes were spot on. Perhaps because it was Ethan's night, Ryan stayed in the background, quietly following his younger cousin. To be fair, Ethan had a delicate, refined look, fair skin, innocent eyes. He could draw attention wherever he stood. And yet, standing behind him, Ryan was impossible to ignore. He had sharp, striking features, those lazy phoenix-shaped eyes that carried a spark. When he glanced over, it felt like thunder rolled in my ears. It jolted me back to that night when he had been drunk and passionate, his eyes flushed red like blooming cherry blossoms. A friend nearby shook their head and whispered, "If Ryan Hayes ever goes bankrupt, I wouldn't hesitate to set myself on fire just to meet him in another life." Same world, same dream. But as for me, I was more interested in Ethan Hayes. The younger heir had just returned from overseas. He looked so innocent, untouched. It felt amusing that no one had tried to stir him up yet. So the next day, I arranged a small gathering with a few friends, hoping to invite Ethan out. But Ethan declined. One of my friends suggested, "Why not invite Ryan Hayes instead? If Ryan shows up, Ethan will definitely tag along." Lately though, Ryan had been notoriously difficult to invite. My friend urged me, "Just try, maybe today he's in a good mood." So I sent Ryan a message, "Are you coming out tonight?" Silence. We thought there was no chance, until my phone suddenly lit up, "Sure." In the end, only Ryan showed up. I looked around. "Just you?" He raised a brow, "Who else?" It felt like no one had come except the devil himself. The whole place seemed to freeze. That night, he was dressed even more formally than at the gala. His hair was perfectly styled, his entire presence colder, more unapproachable. Someone tried to lighten the mood. "Mr. Hayes, dressed like this tonight, you look ready for a wedding. We don't dare accept such a gift." Haha, if you don't know how to joke, better not joke at all. Anyone who knew Ryan's temper wouldn't dare. But surprisingly, he only glanced at the speaker once, then quietly sat down right beside me. He said nothing. The dim light cast soft shadows over his lashes. Sitting this close, I could even catch the faint fragrance from him. It was a familiar scent, just like that night. I hurried to break the silence. "So, you're in a good mood tonight?" Ryan slid his gaze toward me. I pressed on, "I heard you haven't been going out much lately. Must be a special night for you to come." Ryan studied me for a moment, as if lost in thought, his eyes glinting with a faint, mocking smile. Maybe. He was in a good mood. Then could I use that mood to ask him for an introduction to Ethan? I tried. Why didn't Ethan come along? Ryan paused. His gaze lingered on my face. You want to meet him? I met his eyes, expectant. Just a little. Ryan frowned, then slowly relaxed. He's family. I know, I answered quickly. Otherwise, why would I ask you? I was getting desperate. But it wasn't impossible. I'll arrange a time, he said. Something about the way he said it felt off, though I couldn't put my finger on it. So I nodded. All right. To meet Ethan, it would have to be through Ryan's arrangement. Suddenly, the thought of meeting Ethan Hayes felt weightier, almost ceremonial. I thought of picking out a tie as a gift for our first meeting. Just imagining the young heir wearing it under the sunlight, it would be captivating beyond words. I kept choosing and re-choosing, unable to decide. Finally, I sent the options to Ryan Hayes to get his opinion. I texted him, "What do you think about this tie?" Ryan replied quickly, "It seemed a bit childish." But then again, Ethan Hayes was still childish at heart. Wouldn't it suit him perfectly? Still, perhaps Ethan would prefer something more mature. Everyone tends to like what they don't already have. I understood that. So, I picked a deeper, more understated tie and sent it over. Ryan's response, "That'll do." I sighed in relief. At first, I hadn't cared much about Ethan. But since Ryan was arranging the meeting, suddenly I found myself taking it seriously. So I texted, "Thanks for helping me set this up, and for helping with the gift. Next time, dinner's on me." After a pause, Ryan's reply came, a single question mark. Then, his call came through immediately. His voice was ice cold. "That tie wasn't meant for me?" I froze. "No, of course not. So you're saying you didn't mean it for me?" Ryan's voice tightened. "Then who? Wasn't it obvious?" "For your cousin, Ethan Hayes. Because you helped arrange for us to meet, I just prepared a small gift for the occasion." Ryan was silent for a long time before letting out a faint, mocking laugh. "So the green hat, I have to wear it myself? Meaning being made the fool." I sat there, stunned, turning his words over in my head. But Ryan seemed to take my silence as confirmation. His anger sharpened to the point of gritting his teeth. "You really dare." Bang. The call ended. No, that's not it. What did he mean? Was Ryan implying that he and I were actually in a relationship? Wait, was I the girlfriend Ryan Hayes had been putting above all else? Maybe I should explain things to Ryan. But how? Should I tell him there's no way we're actually dating? That he misunderstood? That what we had was just physical, nothing more? That explanation would probably get me into even bigger trouble. But on the bright side, maybe Ryan absolutely despised what I was doing and had already decided to cut things off. In that case, I wouldn't need to explain at all. Surely, he wouldn't take it that far, would he? Unfortunately, it seemed my chance to meet Ethan Hayes had slipped away. The next morning, Ryan's message arrived on my phone. Tonight. 8 p.m. Wait. How could he be this patient? Maybe we'd all misunderstood Ryan Hayes before, maybe, deep down, he actually had a decent temperament. Even now, he was still willing to introduce me to Ethan Hayes. When I arrived at the place Ryan had arranged, I fixed my hair, put on a smile, and pushed open the door. Then I froze. Ethan was there, yes, but not just him. Nearly all the younger members of the Hayes family were present. The moment the door creaked open, everyone stopped talking. Their eyes landed squarely on me. Someone whispered, "Is that his girlfriend?" I quietly pulled the door shut again. No, this wasn't just meeting Ethan. This was meeting the family. Where had things gone wrong between me and Ryan? How had our intentions crossed wires so badly? I stood outside, completely bewildered. Then Ryan himself stepped out, holding the door open. "Why aren't you coming in?" I ignored the question, grabbed his arm, and pulled him down a hallway to clear this up. Somewhere behind us, a voice called out cheerfully, "What a sweet couple." Cousin and sister-in-law look so affectionate together. Were they blind? I looked up at Ryan. His usually sharp, cold gaze softened, like a spring brook, and his lips curved into a gentle, indulgent smile. My heartbeat stumbled. Ryan Hayes, I finally whispered, I just wanted to get to know Ethan. That's all. Ryan's expression darkened. I know. But tell me, Leanne, do you really want me to put the green hat on myself? Meaning to be made a fool. Why couldn't this man understand plain words? He paused, then turned away. This meeting was arranged in advance. It can't be cancelled. It's been set for 4 days now. 4 days? But hadn't he told me only yesterday? I sighed, lighting a cigarette I hadn't planned on smoking. In the drifting haze, his face looked faint and distant. I finally spoke softly, Ryan, that night, it was an accident. I don't hold it against you. You don't have to force yourself to take responsibility for me. Surely, you don't actually like me, do you? Ryan's face stayed cold. Only after a long silence did he laugh bitterly. I don't hold it against you either. Relief washed over me. Good. That's for the best. I turned to leave, but my steps faltered, and I looked back at him. His eyes were unreadable, hazy with something I couldn't name. I held out the bag in my hand. Inside was the finest tie from the boutique. He blinked in surprise, then looked at me. This is for me? I nodded. You've helped me a lot lately. While I was picking out something for Ethan, I chose this for you as well. Black. Elegant, cold, but with a quiet kind of sophistication. When I first saw it, I thought immediately of Ryan Hayes. He looked down, his gaze softening, his features easing into something gentler. It's nothing. But really, how could someone like him be so easily appeased? That night, I went home, never imagining the rumors that followed would grow even stranger. My friend texted me, did you hear? Ryan Hayes brought his little girlfriend to meet the Hayes family, but they gave her no face at all. She even walked out right away. And instead of getting angry, Ryan actually went back to his room smiling. So bizarre, completely bizarre. I thought about it for a moment. Maybe it was all just a misunderstanding. Maybe his little girlfriend actually had a very good temperament. At Trung's birthday party, I finally saw Ethan Hayes again. Unlike Ryan, who was always cold and distant, Ethan wore a white hoodie with jeans, casual, easygoing, so youthful it felt like he radiated energy I wanted to soak up. My thoughts about him had faded over time, but now they surged back from deep inside me. I carried my glass of wine and walked toward him. Ethan was surrounded by a group of people, laughing brightly, his smile warm and dazzling. But under his black hair, his ears glowed red, standing out so clearly. The Hayes family were all ruthless when it came to business, never showing mercy. Yet Ethan was pure and innocent, and it seemed like everyone around him wanted to find some way to pull him down. I called to him over the crowd, young Master Ethan, I have something to say to you. Ethan blinked, his eyes lighting up. He squeezed through the crowd and came toward me. I smoothed my hair, trying to look alluring. But the moment he opened his mouth, he said, Sister-in-law, what is it? My smile froze. I tugged him into a quieter corner, wanting to explain. You misunderstood, there's nothing between me and Ryan. Ethan looked at me, as though realizing something. You two fought, didn't you? I get it. I stared into his clear eyes, falling into silence. He looked at me with a sparkling gaze, as if I were some kind of hero. His lashes were long and thick, his eyes bright like polished glass, clear and warm. His lips were red, his teeth white. My heart skipped. I pretended to ask casually about his time studying abroad. He answered obediently, he loved his chosen field, spent every day in the lab. Then why not keep going? I asked. He scratched his head, a little embarrassed. Maybe I'm not cut out for it. I'll still support the field though, feels like I can contribute more that way. So well behaved. I gently clinked my glass against his. Ethan, do you want to fall in love? He looked startled. With who? I leaned closer. With me. His face flushed instantly. He stumbled back a step. Sister-in-law, don't joke like that. You and my cousin broke up. Even if we did, what's the problem? He waved his hands, stammering, struggling to get the words out. This between us, it's not normal. I stepped closer, backing him against the wall. A healthy relationship is important, sure. But a not-so-normal one, that's far more interesting. Ethan, want to try? Ethan bolted, running away in a panic. I scoffed, ready to turn away, but as I rounded the corner, I accidentally brushed against Ryan Hayes' arm. He pulled me into his embrace, his voice cool and sharp. A healthy relationship is, of course, important. But the not-so-normal ones, those are far more interesting. Is that what you like? Was the Hayes family my personal black hole? I couldn't make sense of them anymore. So I gave up. Fine, fine, call me twisted, call me abnormal. Ryan gently stroked my hair. After a pause, he murmured, it's all right. You don't dislike me, you just dislike normal love. I understand. What are you even talking about? I wanted to protest, but in the end, I found myself cornered, forced to retreat. Ryan Hayes, you really are cruel. Maybe his words had left a deeper scar than I realized, because that night I even dreamed about him. His eyes were cold, but when he kissed me, his lips were soft and warm. As we tangled together, I wrapped my arms around his neck, tugging lightly at his tie. The scent of his cologne pressed against my chest, chilling yet intoxicating. His messy hair brushed faintly against my skin. I held him tightly, until suddenly, I startled awake from the dream. If it had only been that part, maybe I could have slept peacefully. But no, the dream forced me to remember what had happened before, dragging back hazy fragments into sharp focus. The bar, lit in a haze of neon lights. The game of truth or dare. My friends had urged me to pick someone at random to play with. And I had chosen, the man with the most striking back. Even drunk, my taste in men was unnervingly clear-headed. I swayed through the crowd until I stood before him. Elegant brows, a straight nose, tall and lean frame. Truly a face too beautiful to ignore. Why hadn't I realized then that it was Ryan Hayes? I leaned close, oblivious to the silence that fell over everyone around us. Your lips are so beautiful, I murmured. What a waste if no one kissed them. Ryan leaned back against the black leather chair, eyes fixed on me. Before he could say anything, the dizziness hit, and I collapsed right into his arms. Somewhere, I vaguely heard my friend stammering, Mr. Hayes, sorry, she's drunk, we'll take her home. But Ryan's voice cut through, low and steady, I'll take her. He paused, then added softly, we're headed the same way. And so, I ended up in Ryan Hayes' car. On the ride, my haze lifted a little. The thing about me when I'm drunk, on the outside, I look perfectly sober, but inside, my body stays alert while my mind turns muddled. So I started rambling, I've liked you for a long time. Every time I see you, my heart races. But I never dared to get close. I only dared to watch you from afar. Ryan Hayes' eyes darkened. Oh? That doesn't sound like you. I answered seriously, that's the version of me outside. It's just my shell, my protective color. Ryan gave a faint laugh. You should wait until you're sober to say these things. I gripped his tie, staring straight into his eyes. I'm perfectly sober. Ryan faltered slightly, his gaze growing darker. All right then, remember, you said it. Yes, I said it. God. How could I be this reckless, half-drunk and still flirting with a man? How awful was I? I smacked my own mouth in frustration. Forget it, just forget it. Why keep remembering? Didn't that mean I had seduced him and then walked away without caring? But thinking back to what I'd told Ryan later, I realized how good-natured he really was. Even now, he hadn't turned against me. While I was still worrying about how to explain things to him, Ethan Hayes suddenly invited me out. Fine, I'd explain later. I wore a dark blue evening gown with a plunging neckline. My long hair spilled over my shoulders, a few strands brushing against my collarbones. Pearl earrings glimmered faintly under the lights. When I walked in, Ethan's eyes went straight to me, but quickly darted away. Did he not like it? Impossible. There was no way I hadn't caught his attention. But as I came closer, I saw his ears were burning red. He couldn't even look at me, only bowing his head and sipping water. I sat across from him, smiling lightly. You invited me out just to watch you drink water. His innocent, deer-like eyes flicked toward me, then seemed startled by something. He began coughing violently, finally covering his mouth and rushing off to the restroom. What was that about? I sighed, casually lifting a hand to fix my hair. Just then, a shadow fell across the table. Ryan Hayes. No, why was he here too? After recalling what had happened that night, a strange guilt crept in, like being caught red-handed. But I'd been caught so many times already, I was starting to grow shameless. He was wearing the black tie I'd given him. His expression was cool, his sharp features made even more striking. He leaned down close to my ear and murmured, "Are you happy?" That familiar scent of his cologne lingered around me. Uncomfortable, I turned my face away. I suppose. He paused, his voice unreadable. Good. Then he straightened and walked over to another table not far away. Seated there was a beautiful young woman I recognized immediately. She was the daughter of the Lynn family, a prestigious household, an excellent match for Ryan Hayes. Yes, the two of them really did look perfect together. It seemed he no longer cared about me. And why should he? He was Ryan Hayes, always charming, always a flirt. Of course, he must be skilled at coaxing women. Those sweet words he'd said before were probably just meant to please me. Thank goodness, I almost thought he truly liked me. My eyes fell on the black tie around his neck, the one I had given him. Out with another woman, and yet still wearing my gift. It made me seethe. I took a sharp sip of water, only then realizing that at some point, Ethan Hayes had returned. He sat beside me, quietly watching, not saying a word. I pulled myself together, flashing him a smile. What's wrong? Not drinking anymore? Not only were his ears red, but his entire face flushed. If there was such a thing as pure and sincere affection, could Ethan be the one to give it? Probably not. That day, Ethan and I actually talked quite happily, until I asked one more question. Before, wasn't it because of my relationship with Ryan that you avoided me? Why now, do you suddenly find this messy situation interesting? Ethan froze, then after a long pause, quickly shook his head. No, that's not it. My cousin told me to come here. Then, in a low voice, he added, but I'm glad I did. Wait. Hold on. Ryan told him to come, to date me? What game was Ryan Hayes playing? When Ryan went into the restroom, I hurried to follow. He wasn't even surprised to see me. Suddenly, his earlier words echoed in my mind. I frowned. Ryan Hayes, what exactly do you mean by all this? He slowly dried his hands. After a while, he finally lifted his eyes to me. Leanne, you don't like ordinary relationships. So now, you're my girlfriend. But you go on a date with Ethan right in front of me. And I'm your boyfriend, yet I sit here and chat with another woman right in front of you. Tell me, doesn't that sound interesting? Exciting? My jaw dropped. I couldn't make sense of it. I even stammered, Ryan Hayes, are you out of your mind? But he didn't get angry. He tossed the towel aside, his knuckles sharp and defined, then wrapped an arm firmly around my waist. Leanne, are you happy now? I wanted to say no, but the truth was, he really was fascinating. Terrifyingly fascinating. God, did that make me a pervert? His hold on me tightened. Besides, You and Ethan didn't actually do anything, did you? Leanne, do you know what it's like for me to stand there and watch you with him? Maybe it was because he stood too close. Maybe it was his intoxicating cologne. Maybe it was simply because his face was too devastatingly beautiful. My heartbeat spun out of control. But honestly, I still didn't understand why Ryan Hayes was so obsessed with me. In the past, we hardly interacted. Even when we crossed paths at parties or events, Ryan Hayes was always surrounded by women. Over time, rumors spread, he was a notorious playboy. Because no one had ever seen him acknowledge any woman as his girlfriend, the entire social circle believed Ryan was only ever looking for fleeting fun. That was why I tried not to think too much about that night. But now, looking at him, it almost felt like he was taking more responsibility than I was. Had I become the villainess in this story? Even though I knew Ryan might truly harbor some feelings for me, I had no intention of being with him. He burned too brightly. If I got too close, in the end, I'd only end up hurt. When I was little, I didn't understand this. At Ryan Hayes' 6th birthday party, I had run straight toward the one who shone the brightest. Maybe Ryan was still just a boy, easily deceived. We quickly became friends. Meanwhile, my sister, the one always more loved in the family, never received even a glance from him. That made me arrogant, unable to resist boasting. I thought, Dad likes him. Everyone likes him. But he still likes me more. After that, my sister slapped me. She was 2 years older, a head taller. You're the illegitimate one, the bastard. How dare you brag? Your mother was a disgrace, and you're the same. Just like her, cheap, destined to seduce others. My father stood nearby, only watching us coldly. I thought bitterly, Dad, if you never loved me, why did you bring me into this world? And then I woke up. After that, I slowly distanced myself from Ryan. We were just ordinary friends. He seemed angry for a while. Back then, Ryan wasn't like he is now. He couldn't easily hide his emotions. Whenever he saw me, he would sigh, avoiding my gaze. I knew, he was waiting for me to apologize, to make peace with him. Once, I even wanted to. But the price of friendship was a slap to the face. Too costly. So I let it go. Just like now. Yes, just like now. Wanting Ryan Hayes to give up on me seemed nearly impossible. I couldn't imagine he'd go so far, pulling stunts this outrageous, all because of me. So what would it take for him to finally let me go? That's why I sought out the girls who had once hovered around Ryan. I asked them, what does he hate? How did things end between you? Their answers were shockingly identical. There was nothing to end. We were never together. We never even held hands. Ryan Hayes, just how many secrets are you still hiding from me? Ethan Hayes invited me out again. At first, I thought it was just another trick of Ryan Hayes. But when I arrived, I realized Ryan wasn't there. This time, Ethan wasn't dressed casually. He wore a tailored suit, no longer carrying the carefree smile he usually had. When he looked at me, his eyes flickered away at first, but then, steadily, they locked onto mine. For some reason, I suddenly felt no interest in him anymore. Almost without thinking, I asked, "Where's Ryan?" Ethan froze for a second. I froze too. This time, it wasn't my cousin who told me to invite you. I wanted to invite you myself. What? He gave a sheepish smile, rubbing his reddened ear before continuing. You said before that you and my cousin broke up. And he told me I could meet you. He didn't object. So I thought, if I like you, maybe it's okay. Oh, poor boy. You didn't realize you were just another piece on the board your cousin had set up. Unbelievable. And yet, it was true. Who would have thought? Ethan sighed softly, hope glimmering in his eyes. So, Leanne, would you be my girlfriend? I leaned back in my chair, smiling faintly. Young Master Ethan, what if Ryan doesn't allow you to be with me? Ethan stiffened, answering reflexively, but he told me to meet you, he wouldn't object. And if he did care? I cut him off. If he did forbid it, then what? Ethan's lips pressed into a thin line. Then I'll try to persuade him. I kept my voice slow, deliberate. And if he still didn't allow it? Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came out. His eyes slowly darkened. I stood, patting his head lightly. See? Even the right to love me has to be granted by someone else. If you want to love someone, wait until you've grown up first. As I turned to leave, I heard him ask behind me, then, will you wait for me to grow up? I didn't look back, just waved a hand. Why would I wait? There are plenty of men in this world. Strange, isn't it? When I first thought of Ethan, I didn't care about any of these problems. But when things were close to succeeding, I suddenly found reasons to refuse. Even if he said he'd persist, that he'd stay with me no matter what, I knew I would still say no. But why? I couldn't explain it. And then, Ryan Hayes's face flashed in my mind. That only made me more unsettled. Not long after meeting Ethan Hayes, my phone lit up. Ryan Hayes was calling. His voice was cool, clipped. Where are you? I didn't answer. Instead, I asked, Ryan Hayes, do you like me? There was a pause on the line before he finally spoke. That depends on you. Depends on me? Depends on whether you like me. If you don't, then I don't like you either. I let out a short laugh. Then what have you been doing all these days? Waiting for you to like me. His voice dropped lower, vibrating through the phone. Leanne, you're always the one who starts things. Always. You can't just walk away from me so easily, every single time. That incident from over 10 years ago, why did he still remember it so clearly? How petty. I sighed. Then tell me, what exactly do you like about me? His chuckle came faintly through the receiver. Leanne, I know you better than you know yourself. I know your background, your family, I know how your parents made you grow up despising love. I even know why you suddenly pulled away from me. Those slaps you took, I was the one who helped you get justice. I know why you left, but that doesn't mean I wasn't angry. Leanne, you were my very first friend, and my very first girlfriend. You can't just leave me the way you did. Even if you try to hurt me more, I still won't let you go. I stood frozen, unable to respond. Ryan Hayes had loved me for more than 10 years. That realization was more shocking than any of the strange games he had played. How could someone love me for that long? In a whisper, I asked, Ryan, am I really worth it? I'm willing. That makes it worth it. So there really was someone willing to go through everything just to love me. I hung up, needing time to think. Moved as I was, feelings were still feelings. But could you really fall for the one who moved you most? I kept dreaming of that night, pulling Ryan's tie, letting him press closer, my fingers slipping through the gap of his black shirt's buttons, strands of hair falling against his chest. I thought, desire is part of love. Maybe I did like Ryan Hayes, just a little. So I asked him, Ryan, maybe I like you a little. The kind of liking that comes from beauty, just from finding you pleasing to look at. Do you mind? Ryan's gaze deepened. Even that isn't enough. Aside from Ethan, in the younger generation of the Hayes family, I was the only one who didn't care about business. And everything I did like, I lacked the talent for. So I returned home from abroad, quietly, alone. My family hosted a welcome-back banquet for me. My cousin was dressed more formally than I was. My relatives said he valued me greatly. But somehow, I didn't feel that way. Until I followed his gaze and saw her. She wore a black silk dress, a pearl flower pinned at her chest catching the light, but it was nothing compared to the brilliance of her eyes. She was stunning. I couldn't help but look again. My cousin beside me caught my glance. Don't you dare fall for her, he warned. She's too beautiful to look away from. But you'll never win her. Then he hesitated, his tone shifting to suspicion. That dress, It looks just like the one I saw a few days ago. I was about to order it, but my cousin beat me to it. It must have been that dress. Which meant, she was probably the one my cousin liked. A faint sadness stirred in me. The next time I saw her was when my cousin announced he would be introducing his girlfriend to the Hayes family. No older relatives invited, he didn't want her to feel pressured. But the moment she opened the door, she barely glanced inside before pulling him away. Someone whispered that she must have a bad temper. Surely, once my cousin came back, they'd be broken up. But when he returned, he was smiling, and said nothing. So no one dared to comment again. Not long after, I saw her once more, at a friend's birthday party. As I was surrounded by the crowd, she calmly swirled her glass of wine and called out to me, "Young Master Ethan, I need a word with you." Like a heroine out of a story. Damn. She looked even more beautiful than before. She asked me, "Young Master, do you want to fall in love?" She told me, a healthy relationship is important, but a messy one is far more interesting. Only then did I understand what my cousin meant when he said I could never conquer her. But she truly was fascinating. More fascinating than any experiment I had ever conducted. So fascinating, she shimmered. Why did she have to be my cousin's girlfriend? But she was too beautiful. If Ryan liked her, it made sense. I hadn't wanted to think about her anymore. But, had my cousin really broken up with her? Could I allow myself to like her? Later, she asked me, "If Ryan doesn't allow you and me to be together, then what?" I couldn't answer. Because my cousin was the head of the Hayes family. If he disapproved, then even if my mother agreed, it would mean nothing. So I had lost the right to love her. She was already with my cousin. I didn't blame her. I didn't even blame him. I just thought, if only I had come back earlier. Aside from Ryan Hayes, that birthday party wasn't the first time I'd seen Leanne. I'd seen her long ago. Her mother had brought her to knock on the door of the Lee family. I happened to be walking by. Her mother treated her like a weapon, pushing her onto the battlefield. She was panicked, not knowing what to do. Amid all the endless scolding, she was lost, frightened. Maybe her tearful eyes were simply too pitiful. Without thinking, I told myself, if I ever had the chance, I would treat her well. Later, when Michael Lee's wife demanded a divorce, the two families were too tightly bound by finances. Michael didn't dare to divorce, so he no longer cared about Leanne's mother. But right at that time, Leanne's mother fell seriously ill and passed away within 6 months. Michael wasn't completely heartless. He brought Leanne back home. And at my birthday party, the opportunity came. Leanne became my only friend. The people who once mocked her now kept silent. But then, she abandoned me. I was furious, vowing I would never care about her again. Yet I kept waiting, hoping she would come back and apologize. I told myself I wouldn't forgive her unless she said sorry 3 times. But I waited, and she never came. Instead, she bloomed like a flower. I watched her laughing, whispering with other men. Jealousy and rage nearly tore me apart. I couldn't wait anymore. So I turned my attention to other women. If I couldn't have one, I'd try another. But it didn't work. No one could replace her. Whenever Leanne appeared, I couldn't control my eyes. What exactly was it that I liked about her? I didn't know. She was like something flawless, breaking me down piece by piece. It made me addicted, unable to let go. So be it. I stopped trying to save myself. Then let me suffer because of her. The pain itself wasn't so bad. When I was nearly driven mad by longing, she walked up to me, smiling brightly. She said she liked me. She said she was perfectly sober. What a liar. And yet, I was still deceived. Leanne, this time, don't think you can walk away from me so easily. You won't.